Welcome to Legacy Conversations, a channel where we preserve military memories and history.
Hello, Internet. I must tell you I'm excited today because I got a Koevoet member here, and we're going to speak in English for those who don't understand Afrikaans that well anymore. His name is Herman Claassen, but he's known as Claassie, and he was a founder member of ZULU Juliet, and then he went to ZULU Juliet. But he's going to talk to us about his life, a little bit background, a little bit about Koevoet, and then we're going to switch to the 9 days of war. Now, I would say most of the people on Legacy should know what's the 6-day war with Israel. Many people know about it, but I can tell you very few people know about the 9 days of war. And it was brutal. It was brutal. It was one of those things which I really want to know more about. I myself was in the police in the coin units at that stage when that fight broke out. So we were following it closely, but we were not involved in any sense of a word. These are the guys who were doing the fighting. I must just tell you, there's an interesting story how I got to Claassie. You will remember some time ago, Fossey, our presenter, flight engineer, spoke to Colin Green, who was flying a Dakota, a DC-3, and that thing got hit by a SAM-7, and its entire tail was gone. We made a video on that, and from that video came we heard rumors that the SAM-7 team, or SAM-6, SAM-6, I think, that team actually got wiped out by Koevoet afterwards. And that's how I got to Claassie. But Claassie, thank you for coming. We really appreciate your time. We are glad you are here. Can you tell me, how did you end up in the police and how did you get to Koevoet?
Hi, Koos. Thank you for having me. I started as a uniform cop at policeman, SAP, for about two and a half years. And during this period, we've done work. Also, they called it the mobile squad when you work in service and you decide on what hours and where you want to work. After, say, about 2 years, I found it difficult that people were not charged or sent to court by the detectives. And then shortly after that, the branch commander I was stationed at Milnerton came to me and he said to me, "You want to come over to the detectives?" I said, "Yes, I'll do that." And then I was fortunate to work with a man who was made a detective in 1955 when I was born. So I had the privilege to learn from the best. And he had a lot of patience. Anyway, that went fine. And then eventually, after I can't remember exactly how many years, I was transferred to Woodstock. And I thought, yes, this is not where I want to be. But eventually, during my career as a detective, I found that Woodstock was the best because I had the privilege of learning under the best. There were lanes and it was dirty, and then from there I went to the housebreaking unit in Cape Town. Again, I learned from the best. The commander there was transferred to the murder and robbery squad eventually. He's still alive. Simply learn from the best. I heard, I've done one SAP tin or coin trip in 1983. We took part in a follow-up. We actually found the spoor or the track, and we gave it through to Koevoet, and they took over. I can't remember what team it was, and we just sort of rode along with them, and that was that. Furthermore, that coin trip or 3 months was more than a go out in the morning after breakfast and come back in the afternoon 4 o'clock, and then start with it's like doing a bit of class down and you're off. And that base was it's called Onga. It's on the road to the Oshikangu border post. So that was the first time I saw Koevoet people and didn't really communicate with them. And then after coming back, I knew that the coin group was going to be withdrawn from the border. They were only to do the South African border. I didn't want to go there. Then I might as well do the place where I live. I can do the border thing here. Then I went. I knew there was a warrant officer in Cape Town, in the headquarters of police. He worked with the border postings, and I knew he was taking a shot or two, so I took him a bottle of vodka, and I said, please don't. The last couple of trips, maybe the last one is coming up now. I really want to go. I want to be up there. Once you've been in a Wambuland, you will always want to go back there. And then one day, my daughter was just a month old. He phoned me. Those were the days of faxes, no cell phones and emails. He said to me, die fax gaan môre val. In other words, the fax will come through tomorrow. So the wife was upset, the divorce, and all those things. But anyway, I thought that maybe it's only 3 guys that's going to, from all over the country, different places, only 3 guys that's going up to join or to go to the border. I thought maybe it's people that got killed or hurt or whatever that we had to replace. We know, in Cape Town, we knew very little of Koevoet. If there was, afterwards I only realized that if there were contacts and people got sorted out, they were talking about the security forces up in the north. Never mentioned Koevoet's name. And anyway, before I went up, I walked past a cafe, a place where we normally went to go buy our sandwiches and stuff. And I saw a book, The Scope. Everybody who comes from the old area knows The Scope. And on the front of the scope, there was something written by Koevoet, and there was a picture of a man behind his guns. And I bought that scope. And the inside, they wrote a lot of stories about at Umbalantu. Koevoet guys came there. There was a lot of bikers, and Koevoet guys visited the base, and the Koevoet guys just sorted them out. So they don't want to see Koevoet again. And anyway, I kept that paper on my table under the glass in the office. And then when we went up, we didn't go to Wambuland. We went to a place called Osiri. It's between Windhoek and Okahanya. It was a place with like shanty houses outside, neat, and then one big house and a dam outside. That's where the security police of the day and the army, they brought their, let's call it people they want to interrogate, they were kept there. So all we had to do is feed them in the morning and feed them in the night and make sure there's enough water. At a later stage, it became boring, and we played soccer with them outside and then put them back tonight in let's call it the cell. And then there was a colonel, SAP colonel, no, yeah, those days, Namibian police served under the SAP. He didn't like me, I didn't like him. He had this officer thing in him that I am just above anybody else. But what he's done for me is actually a good thing. He didn't realize it. In Namibia, they talk, if they talk, you want to go to maybe a place that's 100 or 1,000 kilometers away, they say, let's go, kom ons gaan gou. Just quickly we go. And the mistake he made, he said to me, go to Oshakati, you must load some beds for us, gou, with this bakkie. There was another guy with me. And we went up there, we loaded the beds on the back of the bakkie. And I thought to myself, being a detective, there's no ways they're going to transfer me or give me a transfer to Koevoet. There's no ways. And I can understand that if you have a good detective, you don't let go. You won't go to another station, nothing. And I think the General Dreyer, I think he was still a brigadier at the time. After I've done my job, I drove down there and I parked the vehicle outside, said to the other guy, just wait here for me, please. I'm just going to go see the brigadier. And he like always, he's just walking around with his stick, but he knew what was happening. And I said to him, Brigadier, I'm Sergeant so and so. I want to really join Koevoet, but I know if I put in my transfer in Cape Town, I won't get it. And then he called one of the other guys' wife, who also a Koevoet. He was leader of Zulu Foxtrot at the time. He called her and said, Lorraine, voltooi gou vir Susan Claassen sy spere Susan. Remember we were about that spere thing. We were really hooked up with that. And she wrote out my transfer, and it was sent to a major in Pretoria immediately, faxed. We got along quite well. If you want your thing to go through, you make contact, you phone him. And he immediately approved of it. But I knew I still had to fight a battle down in Cape Town to get going. Because if Pretoria, that was head office, if they approve, it's just a formality. They can try and keep you back here, but eventually they will have to let you go. And we had to get quotes from two furniture tuck removals, whatever you call them, Stutterfits and Pickfits, I think it was. And it's actually both the same place. And it was sent through to Cape Town and also up there. And they kept blocking. And then one day, I can't tell exactly how long after the initial thing, that fax came through, there was another detective who also left the police to go work for a bank, more money for him in there to recover and stuff. And at Finance, the police rugby or sports grounds, they had their pubs and stuff like that. Anyway, we went there to give him a farewell. And then I walked to two of those colonels, they joined. And I went to the one and I said to him, I'll have a bribe for you within 2 weeks' time here. And then he said to me, over my dead body, you will go there. I said, okay, but the offer is there. I'll meet you. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And because I received a phone call from my wife was still married. She was working at Tableview. And they called me to. She phoned me, and then they called me. The guy who's looking after the place. They called me, and I asked her, "What's the story?" She said, "No, die fax het geval." And I knew I'm going. Doesn't matter what they do now, I'm going. And then it was approved. They came and they loaded my furniture, and there we go. I went up. There's another detective on that train to Windhoek, but my car was also the old Austin Marina. Was also on the back of a train, and then there were some army guys in the same compartment as we didn't really see eye to eye, but it doesn't matter. And then eventually the train stopped we had to disembark from the thing in Windhoek, and then it's to the Austin Marina, and we drove up from Windhoek to Oshakati. It was on a Sunday. When we got in, there was nobody to accept you, no place to report, nothing. And we walked behind the arms stores of the teams where they kept the arms. And the office, there was these green, like asbestos houses, small rooms. And we walked to this place, and we saw there was one guy driving around in a blue Datsun car. But if you know Oshakati, between the roads, there's a little shallow, I would say, not a hole, digging or whatever the case might be. So if the rain comes in the winter, it goes down there. But you still had, with your vehicle, you had to take it slowly to go and get through. And but this lesson took a couple of knocks. Anyway, then we went to the first room where we heard noise. They were watching a movie inside there. A lot of them. Oh, that's good. That's Koevoet members. And I knew we're not going to find a place to sleep if we don't make a plan now. And as I walked out, who comes around the corner? The general at that stage, brigadier, with his stick. And he said to me, I wouldn't like to mention the guy's name because he's not with us anymore. But where's so-and-so? Like we remember. I said, no, sir, we don't know. We must find a place to sleep. And anyway, eventually we found a place. Can't even remember where, but we embedded there. And then the next morning, we reported, and we were told that we have, and the other new guys, that we have to go to Ondangwa for a 3-week course. That was it wasn't a difficult course. It was more mind games. What would you do if you were sleeping in army tents? And what we were carrying those black poles, sit-ups, push-ups, sandbags, and the long walks. And if you, the first couple of, let's call it walks, they took a blessbook and they dropped us off 10 kilometers, I would say, east of Ondangwa. Then you have to walk back. And that was easy. And then came the 20. That was a bit more difficult. Because after, used to 10 kilometers, then the 30. But when it was a long, became let's call it the long walk, we became clever as well. We stopped the local, if it was a lighty, then we asked him, we'll give you a few bucks, give us a lift on the bike. So we shortened the 30 kilometer strip with at least 10 kilometers. But the instructors, they were clever enough. They knew these guys, they look too fresh when they come back. And then they dropped us off in the south. There's no water. If you want something to drink, you must drink stuff from that the Wambu traditionally drink, the kuka, those stuff that falls out of the Makalani palms. I didn't want to drink that. So, and then after I think a week and a half or so, there was a ops took place. A Koevoet ops took place in the western part, southwestern part of Namibia. I would say near Kalawek, somewhere in that area. I was dealt in as there were not enough group leaders, so I was dealt in with Zulu India. I don't know where the other guy went, and I don't know, maybe 10, 20 kilometers we followed, and we got one cop. You know what a cop means? If people don't know, I'll tell them what it is. If we during a fight or follow-up, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, we shoot them. We call them a cop. And if I think back to the how did people identify them in the local population? They all had cop cards, so it wasn't and you can barely make out on this. There's supposed to be an ID card. You can barely make out the face of the owner or the person who's with. And we managed to talk to the gunship, the chopper, a little bit further up north. And then he said, no, I can't go any further. And then we withdraw. On the way back, the blade Sefira on the right-hand side packed up. And we had to get a truck to come lift the thing and pull it back. So another team was sent with one of those vehicles, and they lifted my car into the back of that thing, the front part. And for some other reason, the driver of this recovery truck drove on a 2-spoor road, and I was sitting in the back of another vehicle, and then on this 2-spoor road, they drove over a landmine. I just saw the smoke, and the one, for some other reason, one was sitting on the back of that thing. He had a few cuts and stuff, and they had to get a medic out to stitch him up. But he was as white as can be, because I don't know whether that was shock or that was just the white sand of Wambuland. Anyway, that was done, and the whole all of us got back to Oshikati. Nobody hurt. Then we had to go. The other person and myself had to go back to Ondangwa to join the training again because we thought this towards the end and maybe we'll skip this one. So we had to just carry on and fall in with the rest of the crowd again. There was I don't know where they got the beers, but the policemen can almost make plans. And there was one guy, he's now passed away. I mention his name, Koos. And one of the other guys, of course, got sick during the night because of too much or too many beer at the wrong time at the wrong place. And he did vomit a bit. And then there's another guy, his nickname was Billy. He walked all around the tent all day long. And he said to Koos, hier's 'n paar kykies hier buite. There's a few kittens outside here. And then eventually Koos couldn't handle them on the F off, Billy. Go catch yourself one of those cats and call him Billy. And then before we finished that thing, one morning, 3 other Koevoet guys came walking up to our tents, and there was a fire outside there. Normal bright fire, or whatever you call it. I think I can mention their names. Betoger, he's not with us anymore. Marius Koos, he's still. And the other guy was Mac. I'm not sure. But anyway, they sat around the fire. Betoger's eyes were all swollen. We didn't ask questions because what we heard from about the Koevoet people, they were rough guys, and they don't look for trouble there. You might land up the same way. Eventually, it came out that Betoger, bless his soul, he liked to play with stuff like grenades and hand grenades and stuff like that. And especially that night, he blew up a tap next to the base in Oshikati. And another, I won't mention his name, beat him up, which I think was unfair. It's a place for men. But the general didn't take it that lightly. He said, no, go, F off. And so they had to walk all the way from Oshikati to Ondangwa. And they had to start training again, but in the meantime, we were almost through the course. There was another person, I won't mention his name, I don't know whether he's still alive. We just call him Piet Moon. Because if you carry the pole, you carry the bus. The shortest guy is the luckiest one because he doesn't take all stuff. And if they drop us off on a 30 kilometer sand, or you can call it Wambeland, basically semi-desert, Piet Moon used to fall behind, and then he started moaning, he needed help. Now, during a normal, if you see it in movies and stuff and whatever, if somebody gets hurt or he can't keep up, they carry him or they help him. No, the mindset that they had to try to get through into our minds was everybody for himself. What's going to happen if they shoot out the whole lot? So we left Koos, Piet Moon, and he had every time he just followed up. Eventually he arrived, and that was that. And that was basically the beginning of being up there. Then we had to they had to deal us up in teams, send us to teams where there was a shortage of commanders. It's not like with Tin. With Tin, I was with my Tin trip. We also we flew to Ondangwa with a Flossie. When that thing is above the airport in Ondangwa, there were always 2 gunships in it to look out for people who would like to take down that Flossie with a RPG. And I believe they did catch one, or they did shoot one. I can't remember the exact story. But so if the plane goes down with a normal landing, the children or whoever's in the plane, they start crying because you can't lift your arms. And so that happened with the tin trip. And we were told he's not with us anymore, but nobody liked him. He was a brigadier or colonel at the time. I can't remember. We had to go to Kwambi. It's just on the other side of Oshakati, where they did a sort of a refreshment course, doing class down and all that. You know what the army used to do. That's not the police way. If they do attack the place, and tomorrow there will be tracks, and the people can do their job and sort them out. And he had with each coin group that turned up there, he had a 3-hour meeting where he told them, you don't do this, you don't do that, you won't have long hair, you won't have beards, you will sit inside the Caspers, not on top like the Koevoet do, and lots of things, 3-hour long. But at the end of that, you know, we just wanted to know, a normal person wanted to go do your work, your job. And I know at certain, when those coin groups left Wambeland to go back to their homes or wherever they stay, he was waiting at Ondangwa Airport, and if it was too long, he picked you right there and then. Departmental hearing, and before you go back, you act where you should have gone back feeling good. You go back with a dark heart. I was lucky not to go through that nonsense. But okay, then the ZULU 1 Juliet and a few other ZULU 1, maybe Hotel, eventually ZULU 1 Delta, and a few more teams were started because there were no more call signs left on the Zulu. It started with ZULU Alpha, and the last letter in that thing is also Z, and that was for the main base, the comms room where they ops room. So nobody could take that, and also the radio guys, they were called ZULU Romeo, and I think the stores where they kept the uniforms and the mechanics on the other side. There I think they were called ZULU 12. I'm not sure, but anyway, we had to repair our. Okay, then we started ZULU 1 Juliet. Chris Ronnie was the commander, and it was Betoger and Tron de Wit. Rest in peace. The funny thing about starting this thing is, now after let's call the 3-week training, we were now dealt into the teams, and Betoger had to paint the store or the place where we had our breakfast and evening food suppers. Betoger was doing painting there because he was told to, you're not a painter, you're not a Koevoet anymore, you're a painter. And Tron and myself went to him and he said to him, kom Betoger, ons moet gaan, span moet gaan. He said, nah, and he kept on painting. But he said, Betoger, you must come, Chris Ronnie, he's a lieutenant, he's calling us, the team must be dealt up in a different for each and every car. And we were issued, and then he came along. We were issued with, I think it's old tin Caspers, coin Caspers. They were camo, and they still had the bicycle hands with the LMG up top, only one gun. And obviously, and the trackers were issued with, I think it's that stuff originally comes from the Navy. Gearface, of nie gearface, but it's a G3. It's a stupid gun to call it, to give it a name. But anyway, we were lucky. We were issued with our 5s, and now we had to deploy. Now that's why I don't want to break the people down, but coin groups never really peaked in a Wambeland. not Rhodesia is a total different story. I would have liked to go to Rhodesia, but I just couldn't. Being a detective, I just couldn't get away. I have a lot of respect for the people who went to Rhodesia. They were hard fighters, and that's actually from the Zulu Scouts. Everybody knows anything about Koevoet knows that that's the thing that it was based on, especially if you work on foot. And but anyway, so we were issued with those things, and it was still the old camo, either SAP camo or Southwest African police camo. Later, we could wear whatever we wanted to wear if we go to the bush. I was wearing an old, I don't know where I got it, but I was wearing an old Rhodesian camo t-shirt, shirt, not a t-shirt, a shirt, and the pants, the shorts the same. It was comfortable, and it was hard, you know, after starting working, especially working in the east, between the thorns and the trees and stuff, it doesn't go through that shirt. And we had to now, we ourselves had to learn how to work in the bush. This is not a tin thing or point thing. And also, the trackers must also know what it's all about. And there was a saying in Wambuland that if the Wambus catch you tying your shoe laces during a contact, you are out, because that means you're afraid. Anyway, the first deployment with this bicycle gun thing here at the front, it felt stupid, like standing up there. Now, what are you doing standing up there? And also, okay, then I went to the Zulu 12, the garage, and I took a boarded Casper's console, and one of the mechanics assisted me, and we fitted the turret on top of the car. Patron fitted like a square type of turret on his, and he liked these RPDs. He fitted 2 of those things. I love my LMGs. I love them more than the 3Os and anything. I fitted 2 LMGs. Now I felt good. Now I can stand, but now I'm with something. The trick which the guys who worked with the guns, the first thing they tell you, don't put your anything in vinegar. It's bad. It's going to eat it away and it won't work. I decided, no, you're not here now. I'm behind the guns. I'm responsible for this. So every night, if there was a contact or fight or whatever the case might be, I take them out and I put them in vinegar. Tomorrow morning, before the sun comes up, it's back into the guns, and where the guys in Rhodesia would know what I'm saying. If you tighten that thing at the front, then it will pull up when you start shooting. But now it's fitted into a turret, it can't pull up. And it was the closer you close that gas chamber, the quicker the bullets go out there. You can't do that with a 3-0. And so we carried on, and eventually one of the other teams, some of the teams didn't like too many big guns. If I say big gun, it's a 5.0 or 20. That they preferred the 3.0s, so you don't shoot out each other. I got a turret. Somebody donated a turret to me, a 5.0 3.0 turret, and again to the Bluebells, and we removed the 3.0 fittings that was on there. We fitted 2 LMG, so I had 2 LMGs and the 5.0. And that made one day I was at the Zulu Romeo where they were working on my radio in the Koos Park there, and the general walked past there and he said to me, Klaas, kyk jy het 'n groot turret hierbo, groot jou guns. You know, that's something that someone will never forget. I felt good. We then at a certain stage you sort of had to work 2 teams together, because it made it much easier during the follow-up. You don't not patrol exactly the same area, but maybe a 10-kilometer difference, as long as you the the small radios are 53s, as long as you can communicate with the person on any other amongst your own people. And if somebody gets out of the vehicle, and if there's a possible spoor, then you can communicate with the person on the ground without shouting. And but anyway, so we worked with Zulu Echo. They're a bunch of Englishmen, good guys, but a bunch of Englishmen. They deployed with black PT towels, no underpants, t-shirts. But anyway, and also if you deploy, if you're a good team leader and a good team with good discipline, if that vehicle, if the team deploy on a Wednesday morning and there's one flat wheel on that thing at the back, you stay behind. And if they are lucky and they get copper and the cop help comes in, if your car wasn't sorted, your people don't get it. In each and every team that I worked, we worked at if we need a spanner, we will use some of that money for the spanner, because the driver normally works on the vehicle himself, and he will be sitting in the front doing his job, and maybe he needs a number 19 spanner, and then next to the vehicle, the call goes down to the back, and somebody takes the number 19 out of the toolbox. But now maybe the driver made a mistake, and the 19 is not the correct one, it's 17, so the 19 must go back, but also into the sand, and then it's lost, and then the 17 comes up. So when we get back to town eventually after that week, and that book gets paid out, we first buy spanners, but stuff that was lost, especially after the Namibian, say Southwest African police took over. It was actually called Swapelton. The jacks that had needed to be replaced, they sent second-hand jacks. So it didn't last. So we had to buy jacks that works. You can't get stuck in the bush while other people are doing their job out there. And then also at the Bluebells, we work on the vehicles ourselves. If the team comes out of the field on a Wednesday morning, one of the car leaders will get instructions to support the drivers to Zulu 12, so nobody else take their stuff, and they can make a score here and there, and they can get the parts. There was a guy, he's not with us anymore, but he was a very good friend. He was a station commander at Swellendam at a later stage, many years after the war, and he died on the same day that I'm on the 13th of the month that's my date of birth. In fact, he phoned me. I was having supper somewhere along the sea, and he phoned me that night before his death, and talked to me. He was a good person, and anyway. And then next morning he passed away at a heart attack. He told us, no, when we went to go ask there for any spares, no, it's out of stock. You can't have it. But and he also had let's call it an OP inside there, working to see that nobody comes in there. But we know 1 o'clock everybody goes for lunch, then everything is open, and so we task our people and task the Wambus to talk to that Wambu, and then the others will go in and take whatever's needed. It's not stealing. It's we transfer the parts to where it's supposed to be, and so we got our things. He always said, but no, you can't, you won't get you can't get in there because I have so and so looking after the place when I'm not there. I said, okay, Pat, laat dit maar so wees. Ons is gesort. And anyway, then at one stage the bless box, all of the bless boxes was just a thing with the front diffs backed up, especially in the rainy season. I don't know why. I think I was number 23 on the list waiting for one. I had to go score one. I had to transfer one. If you go and have lunchtime, there's nobody there looking. So we get the forklift, we put it up, we lift them onto another vehicle, and there we go. We go fit it somewhere else. We get to go fit it in Dango as well. Even some of the trucks, the lorries, their front diffs also fitted. Because now, when we deployed with the same time as Zulu Echo, we now they didn't have a bless box, so we had to stay with them all the time because our gear has to be on Zulu Echo's bless box. And that was too much, so we didn't last long. So the cars our bless box was sorted again. And one of the guys in Zulu Echo said, one day asked me, he said, "Why do you guys always get copper when we get nothing? We working on the same thing. Why does Zulu 1 Juliet get copper?" I said to him, because when you guys leave, we had two exit. Ronnie was a detective and I was a detective. The spoor can't just fly up into the sky and disappear. So we kept on working, and eventually it came along. Not always, but we had a way of just sticking to our guns and make sure, especially if you chase 9 or 10, they can't disappear. We at one stage chased 11 in the center, close to the Oshikangu Road, but on the eastern side, in the bush. And we were on them. We were basically on them. And then the locals chased cattle, or they themselves chased cattle over the spoor, and it disappeared. There was a major, well, not mentioning his name, but he wanted to. He was on a Zulu Echo vehicle. He said, "No, but we must leave this. We must go get some cattle. Shoot one. If you get copper, you shoot one cattle. One cow goes down." He wanted us to do that. I said, no. They can't. They don't have wings. The Turs or the lot that we chased. But the locals, the public, PBS, they supported the. What would you do? Would you rather be given a smack or two by a policeman or an army guy, or would you die via a SWAPO gun? So they had to do certain things. And I said, no, we stay. But anyway, eventually if you have a negative person with you, then everybody else especially if it's a senior guy, then everybody else, especially the trackers, they are being interfered with now. If they follow a track, don't interfere with them. Don't ask them every 5 minutes, how many have you got there? And you take his focus away from what you're doing. Then we did sleep. Now, what I've done, I normally, if I deploy east and we have permission to work on the other side, Angolan side across the Yati, I did rebunker or did refuel it in Ana, and then go straight up and in a single line. So, because if they hear, they know on which day the teams deploy. Then we fill up and make sure there's enough water and everything, and we go, and then we make a TB there. That's also during one of those deployments. What happened was transferred to Zulu Juliet. So I don't know if you want me to talk about a ambulance, or must I tell you why and what happened with the 9 days?
I think we should go to the 9 days. Thank you, because we're going to have an episode on your Koevoet days alone as well. So we can carry on, but we're jumping now from about 84 to 89. So I just want people have to understand this. There's a time difference between where you're talking now and where you used to talk to.
Okay, what happened just before the 9 days, we were patrolling up and down on the Yati without our big guns was removed. Oh no, it wasn't removed yet. There was no infiltrations, nothing. And I was at that stage. I was part of Zulu November. We slept at Umangulume most of the time, or when we're in the west. And they call it an Afrikaans stampkantore. Those things were basically destroyed because of tin. It was tin coin bases as well, and nobody Nobody bothered with that. You just go sleep there, and at least if it rains here under the roof. Against the wall on the inside was written with a piece of black chalk. The 4 Caspers were or the signs of 4 Caspers were written a molar there, and then also with it says it won't be resolution 435, it will be revolution 435. And when we went back to Oshikati, people from either South Africa or Windhoek came to have a talk with us. There's no other way to say they actually came to sell us out. They told us there will be no war. SWAPO can't afford to start a war now. That was stay above the, I think it's 14 or 16 breedtegraad. It's quite far up in Angola. So I said to the one at night or in the evenings before we go sleep, the Portuguese-speaking guys in the team, they listen to what's happening. They tune the 46ers to Radio Luanda. And there they mentioned the group's names, and the team leader said, on the 1st of April, we'll get you. I said, I told this to one of these youngsters, I don't know what his name is, or was, but anyway, I said to him, but every evening, our trackers, the black ones, the Portuguese, they listen to Radio Luanda, and this is what's being said. And this youngster just he's stuck to his story. There won't be a war. There won't be a war. During the I think it was January month, we had a place, a pub of our own, Koevoet or Kavi, and the general mixed with us, and he sat drinking a beer or whiskey, whatever the case might be. We were one team, and I asked him that day. I asked him in Afrikaans. I asked him, General, do you think there will be a war in April or not? And he was sitting back and thinking deep, and he said, "Ek weet nie, Claassie, maar as dit gaan kom, dan gaan die bloed vloei." And he was right. The blood did flow. A lot of people died there. I think, personally, I think Sam's soldiers was also, they were also sold, they were told, because during the interrogation of one that was arrested or captured, he said that they were told up in Angola that the army is gone. And most of the army was gone by they left the area by that time, Grootfontein and wherever. And Koevoet, his words and Koevoet has gone to the houses, which means they are disbanded. They were disbanded. Anyway, on the morning of the 1st of April, we decided, okay, we'll do the area that we work in and see if we can pick up any info. Then some of the Zulu 5 teams, the Koevoet teams, they picked up tracks in the mountains. That's totally different from Wamboland. It's flat. I don't know how to explain it. It's flat. And then they make contact. I think around about 11, somewhere around there. I'm not sure. Anyway, and then Zulu Fox arrested one in the east. Who said they're coming to take the whole country. Now that could be a communication problem as well. Maybe it's just the east, maybe just the west, or whatever the case might be. We never saw this many planned fighters in Namibia or in Wamboland. I decided Umangulumi is just south of Beacon 14. We slowly worked up to Beacon 14, and then I decided I'm not going to follow the lead. I'm not going to go west. I'm going to go east, because nobody's been in the central, near Oshitango or whatever the case might be. And slowly, sometimes the trackers got out to check for every little thing. Between beacon 17 and 18, it's 10 kilometers between each beacon. It starts in the west, 1, 2, 3, and then carries on. We picked up a lot of tracks, and there you need to have a base just north of the border. We sometimes helped them, gave them food or medication and stuff like that. We came along. The comms it was good. And the team leader or the trackers asked them, is this SWAPO, or is this was this because of a incident between UNITA and FAPLA, and FAPLA is running south? They said, Ayo Nande Mona, it's SWAPO, and they're carrying heavy. Then I didn't argue with him. That's why the Koevoet teams worked better, just operated better than anybody else in Ovamboland, in the sand, because myself as a white who doesn't properly understand the Wambo language can't go question him, and he doesn't want to speak to me now. We had our trackers, and they were part of your heart and your soul, and I gave it through on the radio to Zulu, and we were instructed to stand by there. Two teams cannot take on. If your tracker tells you that there's about 50 of them, and they walk in, they weren't walking spread it out. They were walking in a group. You don't have to get out of your vehicle to follow those tracks. We had to wait for other teams to join. And the other thing is our barrels, our big guns and barrels was lying inside the Caspers because we were told the night before we move. And it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a bad thing. But those instructions didn't come from the general. That comes from the politicians. They always want to keep their hands clean. And but anyway, normally if you deploy, you go to the nearest water hole, and your guns already fit, everything is fitted. But then you shoot in you turn your clicks and make sure that the ammo, the banda is reg. And then you know now anybody can come. But on that day, we didn't have time to do that. We just had time to take out the barrels in the back of the Caspers and fit it, and then put the ammo belts in there. So there was no sure. Nobody was sure that my guns will work. And in a book, I see the author mentioned 6 or 7 teams. No, we were 10 fighting groups. Now, and also I said, in a line, we stick together, because we don't know what they're going to do up front. They're going to bombshell or the waiting line in an ambush for us. That was around about 10 minutes past 12 when we pick up those tracks. An hour later, there's a pipeline south of the border going leading from west to east or east to west. Once we cross that, thing's about 10 kilometers down there. We drove into them, and immediately the guns, everybody on the Koevoet side started shooting as well, whether the guns were working or not. All hell broke loose. I don't have nightmares about these things. I just think now. I think if I sit and I have a beer and I have a fire, I can laugh about it, but not at that day. Koevoet did, like I said, Afrikaans hakkejag operaties, not groups like that. Although I know there were teams that at one stage took over spoor from the 101s because they were following them for 2 days in Angola. They couldn't shoot them, and the 4 Koevoet teams took over, and it was about an hour or 2 hours later, over and done with. And in the West, Zulu Whiskey, I think, and then a few more teams also, 34 or 35. But that was the total group in those days. Yeah, we were chasing 50. So you can say maybe 100, maybe less, maybe more. Didn't have to get out of the vehicles. But like I said, I know Zulu Alpha was on my right-hand side. They started at first, and then let's call it to try and stay in a line was out. Everybody was. My car was basically. I don't know how we managed to drive whatever you call a voorveer on the left hand side. It was loose. I shot it off with an RPG or a heat stim. Few heat stims went through the car or against the windows at the back, and right at the back on I think it's on the right hand side. The Casper, the top makes a little bit of a bend like that, and then there's a through that thing went yes, through that thing went a RPG. All the groups, there were so many of them, so it was an area. I went to go visit it last year. I went up there with my grandson, a friend of mine with his son, and we slept there. It wasn't. It's like I said before. If you go there, if you've been there, especially in the west and central area, there's a smell in the ground. Not a bad smell. You will never forget it. It's not a nightmare smell. It's just something. It's always, and it's still with me. And I'll go there again. We slept there. We asked it's not like the old days where you just drive into off the road and then go make a tea beer. No, now you have to ask the owner and tell me you're coming from Cape Town or wherever you're going to Capri, and then go have your braai and let the kids play with their kids as well. Nobody else has done that before. That I know for a fact. And they will, if you go there and you think you can just go make your own braai and stuff, you'll pick up hassles. It's not the days of the Caspers and the Wolves. And that night it was if you look at my WhatsApp group, the picture up there was taken last year on that area where the contact took place. But anyway, people ask me how long did the contact take? Because normally a contact is a few seconds or a couple of minutes, depending on how big the group is. This thing took 3 hours. I was shouting at my driver to get out of the contact zone, but everywhere there was a team, a few cars here. They were part of this. This follow-up thing. It's not only Caspers. The Wolves by that at that stage they were well known. Much heavier and stuff, and quicker than a Casper. But then again, I asked one of the trackers who worked with me at a later stage, long after the war. I asked him, what vehicle do you like? Which one would you choose between the two? And he said to me, ek is gewoond, ek het net die Casper gery. So I'm not saying a Casper is better than the Wolf. The Wolf guys have said they don't want the Casper, they want the Wolf. But that was the answer to me. So I'll go that way again. If not now, but afterwards it would have to happen. But anyway, so it's all over the show. 4 kilometers area, square area. Cars were chasing them and shooting, and they were obviously shooting back. And I think 2 of our guys, trackers, were killed that day. Maybe more in the same, let's call it the same contact. I think there were 8 at the end of the day that got hurt at Kazakhs. But if I remember correctly, 2 were killed. One was shot out of the third was sitting in a tree, so he didn't expect a bullet to come from the top. And then eventually I got out of still basically in the contact area, but yeah, I could now work on see that my guns will get going again. With all that, no, I didn't get that far yet. When we were on our way out, on the left, I saw a tail lining my number 2 car up with the RPG-7. And number 2 car was focused on him as well. The gunner was behind his guns. He missed with the RPG, and they shot him. But they forgot, they didn't look to the left, the driver. They were so excited with this thing, the one in front of them, they didn't see that I was coming from the left, north, to get out of the zone. And then they knocked me over. I didn't know. I thought maybe the plane fighters had a new type of weapon to shoot out armored vehicles, but I never heard of any vehicle or any gun that will knock over a Casper onto its side. and we all it overturned, and we all fell out here like, I don't know how to explain it, but nobody really got seriously hurt. No cut marks or anything. We were just a knop here and a knop there. And now, normally the car commanders didn't worry about a R5 or stuff like that. You'd wear your 9mm. So if you have to get off the vehicle, then at least you have a gun, because you have to, and a radio. You've got to take charge. I only had the 9mm with me and one round in the chamber. That was there for a purpose. Not going to take me. And I had a video camera with me, 8mm. And I asked Pete, like I said, Pete Hunt of Zulu, Mike he was there as well, flipping good operator at the time. As the 9 days carried on, he developed more things like fitting a 60mm on the front of that roof. And you don't have to get off the vehicle and go down and pump it and see if something happens up front of here. Everything was ready. And even with a shotgun, I don't know why I wore a shotgun. But anyway, I carried one. I said, Pete, you have to take over now. I can't drive all over the show. My car's lying on its side, and I can't talk on the radio because the antennas are not up now. They're going sideways, and he took over. But what I can say, if I think back, and if I look at that video, I see I don't want the distance between any of the Koevoet teams, but the trackers of Zulu November was hard men. They weren't afraid of nothing. He runs out there with, although the car's knocked over with his R5, he'll do whatever he needs to do. Sometimes they had a 50 round magazine on there. I didn't like that storage and that. But if they can't get that, then they'll take 230 and you patch them up. And when the one lot runs out, just take another pocket, and there we go again. But like I said, SWAPO was running. It's not running there a mile or 2 miles away. They were here between the vehicles. They get shot. So it's our bullets that's flying around, and it's SWAPO's stuff that's flying around. Some of the other cars came and stopped, and some of my guys got into the back, so at least they can get away. You can't sit all 8 or 9 of us at one vehicle, and the thing doesn't work. Then after, I think it was about 3 hours, the shooting came to an end. We counted 33, and there was a big heap full of stuff that they carried, RPG 7s, RPG 5. I don't know what you call it, but the Brits, the English, they had yellow hand grenades, or it also looked more or less like a bomb set. And people say people could have been smuggling firearms and stuff. How did they get? Who put in possession of British stuff? And obviously the Russian and the Eastern Bloc was there. It was a huge heap of pipes and guns and rounds and those grenades and bomb sets. And then people eventually, obviously the media, they got hold of some of the photos or videos. I never had a camera. I used to drive around with a video camera. That's it. It's more life to it. And people can say anything about a photo. This person has been executed or this or that. No, my video tells you a different story. Some of the heads were flat. The legs were completely bent in the wrong way. You don't do that. That's if you land. People were lying dead all over that area. So it's just bad luck if you drive over one. It's not. He's already dead. And I think a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but some of them must have escaped and ran north so they can get to the Yati. They knew we wouldn't cross the Yati. Then we had to sit. My glasses, my spectacles, they were gone as well. And the people who were walking, our guys, trackers, commanders, they were walking around, and talking and chatting. I was sitting on the back of a strandwolf, taking stock of what we recovered and how many there were. I must say it was that I take my hat off for a lot of youngsters in Koevoet. Some of them were there maybe a year. You can't expect a man that age to fight a man's war, and especially something like this, because this wasn't a Koevoet thing. We never followed that. I don't know of people who followed, maybe before my time, yes, but once we were riding Caspers and wolves, no ways. They were walking around there, and I didn't see one face that was frightened or scared or whatever the case might be. Eventually, when everything was given through, my car was totally shot out. I don't know what you call it, killed on the side. That was broken in two. That's what I thought in the beginning. What type of gun do they have now, or weapons do they have to shoot my car out like that? Meantime, it was car number 2. His bonnet was also after shooting down that one with the RPG. His bonnet was also bent and lifted up. I couldn't drive that thing. And obviously the driver get hiding from the rest, from the guys behind, for not looking where it's driving. And those vehicles eventually they were towed into Zulu 12 and parked there. Mine was replaced that same night. The turret, was nothing wrong with the turret, nothing wrong with the guns, everything, and the radios. I've never seen the radio guys work that fast to get the cars ready to go out to the bush. And I always take my hat off for the Bluebell guys. They many a time they went alone with a vehicle to go help somebody. One day, I don't know why I was in the back of that vehicle, but one of the mechanics was driving this thing on Valisapad. It's full of holes and bumps and stuff. No guns, no nothing. It's rainy season. It's ambush time. He wasn't afraid. He took me to where I need to be. He done his job and all the way back alone again. The same with one of the guys at Zulu Romeo. He also went to the veld with the team to go get some exercise or do the thing. But anyway, so that day, the 1st of April, all the cars are now in a line behind each other, and we were being towed back to Oshakati to be replaced or repaired. We went about 5-6 kilometers, and that took us a long time, hour, maybe 2, I don't know, because you don't have power steering in the vehicle. It's now just the arms. And then we got the instruction again. You must go back to the site. UNTAG will come tomorrow morning or tomorrow, and they will decide who started the war. Now, if you think, what was SWAPO doing south of the border, number 1? Heavily armed like that? No ways. It's irrelevant who fired the first shots. If you drive into an ambush or into gunfire, you must shoot. And they never turned up. And then we like I said, 10 teams together. We parked the vehicles there, and then some of the trackers went back into that. There's a small piece of bush, and they found the number 34 there. So the tally went up to 34 instead of 33, and we gave it through. But we slept there. I never drank alcohol in the veld, never. If I go to a base and we sleep at Inana or Ruakana, whatever the case might be, we'll have a few beers there and dry. But the next day you're ready. You don't. I just believe that you don't drink in the veld, and especially in front of your trackers. The youngster's name, Yihu, I don't know, I think he's still around. I said him, go to the nearest cooker and fetch us a bottle of brandy or 2, or how many you can get. He came back and he had a nippy. So all of us had a smell of it, basically. And then the next morning early, the cars were, with the broken ones, or shot out vehicles. I think there was about 5 that were shot out. You can't repair that. But you can't leave it in operation. It's got to go down to the mechanics or to the bluebells. Zulu Golf, I think Zulu 112, a few teams, about 20, no, not 23 kilometers northwest of us, drove into another ambush contact, whatever you call it, and they killed 23. The Zulu Golf's tracker leader, I'll not mention his name, his head was shot away with the RPG. And so I think after two days, and then we were allowed to take the vehicles back to town. After 2 heavy days, and then later was also I don't know how many was killed there, but they mentioned that they had a lot of copper there in Koevoet. And I think one American general wrote somewhere or ex-general wrote somewhere in a book or something that he said if you had a few of those people, you would get rid of a whole battalion of other soldiers. Because you can't go up the mountain with a wolf or Casper, and you can't turn your turret up there. So those people had to follow them in the mountains on foot, and they were huge groups. But anyway, they as far as I know, the Zulu 5 teams got the better. There were some of the Zulu teams also working in the west that joined them at certain spots. Anyway, when my vehicle was eventually left there so as well, the turrets and the radios, everything was removed, and I was given a new Casper, but the front diff must have come from a forklift or something. Because I go eventually when I started working again, if I go over 60 kilometers per hour, the whole thing starts shaking, and the guy on top of the lot at the Bluebells, Pat Lee, I mentioned, passed away. And said we can never get the parts there. He said to me, "No, man, it's a new diff. It can't shake like that." I said, "Pat, 60 kilometers tops." But anyway, all the cars that were shot out was replaced and stuff removed and replaced. And the next day we were out again. At one stage, a tour was captured. I can't remember which one, but I remember Jackie and Potty's Zulu Golf in Koppie. They tried to. I'll film it. They said there was no atrocities, nothing at the time. He was talking freely. It's just the English understanding or talking the English was a little bit difficult. But we had our own Wambus who can communicate with him. So it was a Wambu, partly English, Afrikaans, and he told us like I said earlier, they were sent down there. They were told that the army is gone and Koevoet is gone to their houses, and he pointed out where they buried their arms. So if you catch one and he's in service, in fact, the one that we were interrogating on the 1st of April was wearing service. So he dumped his SWAPO uniform from somewhere. Don't know what happened to him. I think he was taken to Oshikati. He's most probably alive. Businessman, I don't know nowadays. But this one explained to us. He took out the mortars, and every time he throws it onto a certain spot, and then the next one comes, and the next one comes, and then Potty said, "Hey, brap, hy's 'n mortier, brap, pot staan nou Oshikati se kant toe," meaning that thing can send him to Oshikati. And anyway, we recovered our 5 as well, which belonged to one of the commanders. Not mention names there. They went into a contact, like I said before. You if you're fighting huge groups like that, 2 teams are not enough. And his vehicle was shot out, and they killed him. I'll go as far as that. But now this who's taken out his rifle said, yeah, it was others. How can you say it was others and you're part of the group? But anyway, he also, I suppose, they were all were sent to Ondangwa or Shakati. Security police could carry on with interrogation or whatever the case might be. At one stage, all those main travel roads for the Caspers and Wolves and the army and stuff were gravel in those days, except the one road that comes from, you can say, from Chumep right through to Ruakana. That's now all but the one goes up to Oshikangu and the other places. Some of those, like Umbalantu, has got a different name now. It's called Utapi. There they have a war museum. They don't talk Koevoet, they talk police. On the left-hand side, I think it's all the SWAPO fighters and a woman that was cut open the bellies by the police or the army, whatever. It's propaganda. And then on the right-hand side, all the police, even where the police were having a braai down at Ruakana at the falls. We went there many times. If we were off that week, we took a Casper, asked to say, or if I have bamboos, will you drive? And if we have a puncture, will you have flat? Will you help us to change it? So we said during the war, we went down there and we where else can we go? Unless we go back to South Africa. So like I said, I've done my trips up there and also to the east afterwards on my own since 1995. That's special. I will never, and like I said, it's not nightmares. I'll never forget the smell of the grass or the trees, especially in the west or in the central area of Ovambo. It's like coming home. So anyway, we on one day, I don't know whether it's third or the fourth. I think that the main battles took place in the first couple of days. Then it went down a bit. I can't talk on behalf of others what they were doing or how many kills they had or how many were shot. People, their own people were shot or hurt or whatever the case might be. But we stuck around in the central area, and we were on the road going from Ondangwa to Oshikangu. Oh yes, and like I said, Piet Hunt did well. He was the first one to get hold of the army rattles. So whenever they do if it's a close combat thing, the 90 mils of the rattles will be in front in a line, and then say 2 Koevoet vehicles, whether it's a Casper or a Wolf, in between, also with the big guns, and then on the side going like it's like an arrow, the smaller guns, the 3.0s and stuff like that, and then in the middle the army or the rattles had their commander. He was in the middle with the vehicle. We didn't really understand their way of fighting. They get out of the vehicles. It's conventional, and Piet had that 60 mil mounted on the front. So that's what we use during the normal war as well. If there's info that there are Turs in the bush, we take out we'll take a mortar and pounds one in there to see if anybody will return, or maybe it's just nonsense. Because if they are there, they will shoot back. So I think we fell as a couple of groups. We fell under Jackie Grobler, Zulu Golf. We thought maybe we can score here with the Noddy cars. You know what a Noddy car is. I know when we were in town during normal deployments, the Alpha group goes out and the Bravo group goes in town, so you sleep in your house. And then another car start to work here in the middle of the night. Don't know where they're going, but and they start backfiring. And then a mechanic comes out to fix this thing. It's oh no, you don't sleep at all that night. Now to fight the war like the 9 days with a thing like that. Same thing happened. I kept on breaking. Then we had to stay behind. And then Jackie said, "Now let's go, popular. Let's go. We will get something else. We keep on fighting." And then we were parked on that road that I mentioned just now from Ondangwa to Oshikango, close to Italy base. There was a lot of rattles as well. So I suppose Piet Hand was also in the area. Then we received info that there are either SWAPO or FAPLA on the other side of the Yati with tanks, and they're going to come down. Now I know you can't fight a tank with a Casper. I said to Jackie, and I know the army wants to go through their rigmaroles. It's too many radio comms and questions and things before you get to the answer. And they were also, like I said, they wanted to fight on foot, canon foot. I said to, I noticed that this army commander was getting frustrated, and I said to Jackie, "Now what are we going to do if those people have tanks?" He said, "Dan fight ons." I thought to myself, "No way, Jose. I won't, I won't fight a tank with a Casper." And then for some other reason, I think he just got gutful that commander of the army took his tank and they went north. Eventually, there was nothing. So it was false info. And in that same area, I wasn't with him, but with the groups involved there at the time. Peter Hunt was the first one. Yes, it happened before, long before the 9 Days War. Somebody also scrambled Vlamgatte. Peter Hunt, again, he was thinking out of the block. He asked for Vlamgatte because they were told there was a hell of a lot of tours in a specific piece of bush east of Italy. And they are, for the first time, I saw how those people, how they are activated. The gunships fly above the place where the enemy is supposed to be, so those people can see, and they communicate with each other. Not we don't communicate with Vlamgatte pilot. We get our hell out of the area as quick as possible, and they dropped a couple of bombs there, and they flattened the area there. And later, at a later stage, when we worked past that area, the locals told us they're actually glad that those things came over, because now they don't have to go cut wood anymore. The bush is flat, and there's many of those things that But I think I don't have, like I said, I don't have nightmares. I just think back of and I think how close we were to being killed, but it wasn't. Our numbers hasn't come up yet. Anyway, it sort of calmed down, and then it became, like I said, a hakkejag thing type of thing. I think the Air Force put Dakotas, Hoenhoeke in the air with loudspeakers, telling the tourists to go north, go back to they won't be ambushed or stuff. Go back, and that's why it sort of calmed down. I don't know whether they understood that, but it was in the middle of the night. They were flying there with those loudspeakers, and then on the 9th day, the general said, "We can withdraw." Now, the teams that I was involved with during my time with Koevoet, always, if it comes to the end of the week, or you can withdraw to base after you had copper, they tied red flags, or they always had a piece of red flag inside that vehicle. They tied it around the antennas, some around the heads, and they started singing. But that we will never see again. And then we went back to Oshikati. The most, if I can call it, negative time in my life is when we were told the war is over. SWAPO has gone back to their place. We must keep our trackers busy in town. No guns, just so we decided, okay, and of course, Untag was there to monitor us. We thought, okay, now we'll give you better medicine. We marched him, and we walked with him through town, and they sang the old Wambu war songs. Untag didn't like that, but there's nothing they could do because we were confined to base. We had to wear our badges saying what team and Koevoet and whatever the case might be, the ones who had any. And at one stage, I think he was Indian commander or general, or whatever the case might be. He said he wanted to see all the trackers at the storerooms where we kept our firearms and equipment, and he wanted to have their ID cards, what they called in those days kopkaarte. The people didn't like that, so they got very close to him, and he wet himself. Bye. And so we still had our guns with us. Tonight I will keep it at my house. So the guys would help carry it to my place. And as soon as we know that Untag was going to walk around and check here and check there, we moved it to another spot. And we had to keep people. All the vehicles was parked in sector 10. That was army base before. Now it was a police base. So we had to have somebody there to look. To keep an eye on the vehicles, because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe there's a second infiltration. Maybe who knows who. And then, like I said, during the day we did those drills and stuff. But to be involved in the Koevoet lifestyle, it was special. It was really special. Now, I didn't want to go do any other police work. One of the majors, they said to me, you like to use the generals, and the general said you must go investigate dockets. I said, no. And I go back home. I know detective work, but I'm not a detective here. At one stage, they sent me to Ondangwa, I think to the police station, and I had to sign all those dockets. A statement in each and every docket that is natural causes. Over 300 people. I think if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, I think 314 fell on their side, paid the highest price. We don't know how many died on the other side of the border, because if arm was shot off, eventually you won't stay alive, or leg. I had to sign all those things, and if I wanted to lie, I could have said no, but I'm responsible for all 300 and odd. No, the people who were there knows who was involved. Again, I say the young guys, they stood out. I really stood out. I take my hat off for the young guys. Being there, doing the same thing every day, and knowing that the war's over, we were also told. You can't keep anything. If there's information, you can't keep it away from a policeman. Especially if you're Koevoet, he will eventually you will find out. We were told, yes, that what I'm saying now is the truth. We were asked to get a name list of the trackers in the team with their immediate family, because if once disbanded, we will go to Mozambique. Some of the choppers will go there as well. They mentioned the names of the two towns that we move into. We'll just get another name again, like Koevoet became Swapelton, but officially it stayed Koevoet, and today still it's still Koevoet, and I'll die at Koevoet. Then the government of the day, once we left, okay, we got those names and stuff, but we smelled a rat. Now we're going home. When are the trackers coming along? And then I can't remember exactly. I went because of the Pom's accident in '87. I had numerous cuttings and operations on my left leg, of my right leg, and also my stomach they had to shorten my colon, and it's a long story. It was about 9 months here with this thing. The general said, and I went back, that was before the 9 days. I went back, and the general told me, even if you have one leg, as long as you can take a team. That made me feel proud and good. So back to the field. There's nothing, especially something. I had a soft feeling for Central and the West. If you make a tea beer there at night, the Wambus will make their fires and we make a fire and they will chatter, and around about 9 o'clock, everything is quiet and dead. Hooper said in his book that he said he never could understand these people because they make a noise, they talk, but there's no guards on the outer skirts and stuff. In America, they will never do that because Indians will come tonight and kill them and scalp them and do whatever needs to be done. Swap had never attacked a Koevoet TV base because they knew what's going to happen the next day. First time spoor, everybody knows what to do. Anyway, eventually I had a little Volkswagen which I had resprayed there by one of the locals, and now we also knew we had to either we come back by train or something because all the army stuff was removed from the old operational area. So we made a plan. I had that vehicle resprayed. We went some of the other way. We got a hold of one of these truck drivers who brought up vegetables and stuff from South Africa to Wambuland. They said, no, you can put the fodder in the back of the truck or the thing that is towing at the back. So there were 4 of us. It's me, RP, I think it's Aubrey. Was the Zulu uniform. He also passed away a couple of years ago. I think Beerkie. We were 4. But anyway, we made sure we had enough medicine in that vehicle, and we made sure we had a guard looking at the medicine. And it's a long drive down to Cape Town, and it's hot. It's in the summer, so there was enough, and they had to. This was before Grand West was ever built. It was just they had to go park their trucks there and offload, and so RP had to bring back my Fola. But we were done with the war. And it was, like I said, it was the most negative time because you weren't allowed to go you look at a Casper or wolf, it bites, and it's over. And okay, I won't go as far as and the Mozambique thing never came off. We know all the maps were taken by some of the members to the general so he can have a look and make a plan, do a planning. But the government of day here in South Africa said, no, Koevoet is after all that, Koevoet is a disgrace to South Africa. One day at my house, one of Pretorius, he was the general, what's called it, Papa General thing there in Windhoek, who was supposed to oversee this, Auditeur-Generaal, something like that. Louis Pienaar. He came just after the war. All the group leaders got together, at a normal place there in Oshikati town, close to the office. He came in walking there. He didn't wear a hat like Peary and Puck and some of the others. He walked without a hat. And then he said, he must salute us for the work we've done. But nobody was happy about that. He sold us out. And one day, I would say long after, but a year or so after the war, they had elections here with the National Party was still running the country here. And one of his, unfortunately fell on the board where he was supposed to be the minister or the ward council or whatever the case might be. They sent people out to recruit and get more votes and stuff. Luckily, I had my books. I had Hooper's books, books. I had Peter Stiff's book. I said to him, do you see this? Now, that man sold us out big time, and the bunch with him, they sold us out big time. Same thing that happens if some person comes to my front gate, I don't have a bell there, only the number of the house. And if it's a religious type of person who wants to enforce what he believes in on me, I take out his books. See, the hardest, the best war, hardest fought war. You see this? No, they take the eyes out. They don't want to see it. I said, no, you want me to read your books? You want to hang read this. And they don't come here anymore. So, yes, the National Koevoet Union is still a bond or league is still there. There are locals in the provinces and stuff, but it's the mense raak minder. I think this will be my last one to the wall in April, coming April. And like I said, I had my grandson up there. My friend had his son up there at that place. With the 1st of April in Wambula. That's why I don't want to go to the reunions really anymore, because they are instead of going fewer, they are getting more. And then they start talking nonsense. I've been there. I've been to that place, not asking for peace or for, excuse me and this and that, or forgive me. We slept there, and then we traveled through the whole north of Wambuland up to the Kapibi, and we slept. Eventually, we stayed a couple of days there at Tron de Wit's place. Tron was with me and ZULU JULIET. Damn good guy, also not here with us anymore. We went there many times after the war. We just relaxing. There's nobody messing around with you, and you do what you want to. If you want to drink something, you drink. If you don't want to drink, you don't drink. If you want to eat, you eat. You do what you want. And they also say, there's a saying, once you drank water out of the Kwandu River, you will always go back there. It's the same as a Wambula. So I think I can talk a lot more, but maybe at another time, unless you want to know about the POMZ.
Yeah, perhaps you should tell us about this POMZ, which got you in the legs, I believe.
Yes. And elsewhere, stomach, hands and stuff. Willem Verscheer, the senior ops officer, said to me at one stage, he liked to use the words the general said. Now, one thing I must admit or say about Chris Ronnie, before I get to Willie Verscheer, is that Chris, in my time, Chris, we started ZULU JULIET. Chris Ronnie, Betogen, and Tron and myself. And I explained to you about the vehicles that we had at that time. Chris Ronnie was the only officer who was in the bush every day. Very few can say that. He knew what he was talking about. Anyway, I would have liked to become the group leader of ZULU JULIET. They were one year they were placed 4th on a log of all of their teams. I mean, that's a new team who's done the best. 4th from a log for a ZULU 1 team. That's good. And anyway, Verscheer said to me, okay, the general said he must take over ZULU JULIET. Now, I remember the people in ZULU JULIET, they were not, the car commanders, they were not one left. JC Les was with me, RP, Maurice Clark, and Maurice Clark eventually. He came from leave in South Africa, and I went back from leave to go back to the teams again. Then he applied and got his transfer there. We were Philip Scarface. I never knew what his surname was. He was just known as Philip Scarface. He had a cut on one side below the eye, and after the war, he joined the UNITA and fighting Poplar. And then he came back and he made coffins. He lived on the other side of Klerksdorp. We were a bunch of nice guys. We clicked, but now this is it's a team that's been there for many moons, so we had to know how to deal with him and to get the respect. I think our first deployment was east, so we go to Inanna, fill up water, everything, and I had this thing with me. I think I said it before, but I'll mention it again. When I have the permission to go work in Angola, it was mostly in the southern parts. Whether it's west or east or central, it's the southern parts. Maybe 10 clicks up, 15. We got in the vehicles again, and we went. I see on Army YouTube pages they talk about a heke like. I don't know whether it's the same heke like, or whether it's a huge base where it's also called a heke. But the heke like starts about 10, 12 kilometers north of the border. Then there's the normal kraals. We left immediately after filling up, and where Juliet worked in a line, one car behind the others. I stopped that with the first deployment. I said, no. While we're on a tar road or on a main road or a gravel road, it's like that. But every car's got to do his work. It's not only the number one car is going to take the first RPG or whatever the case might be, or drive over landmine. Landmines really didn't bother us anyhow, but the Castro was the number one car and the Wolf. There was a little bit of moan and groan. I said, no, in a line. So we all of us are looking for tracks. So anyway, we got to let's call it the TB place. We parked the vehicles. I had my own sleeping hole. I slept on that. And if it rains, you use the ability to just tie onto the Casper and tighten it at the bottom again. Use pieces, stick or something, pin. That morning, when we woke up, the Wambus, especially the Blesbok driver and his partner, they rolled up my sleeping bag and stuff, and they saw a snake. Now it comes out the word bad rock. You remember how they mix up the L and the R. It comes out the word that's bad rock. Anyway, the stuff goes on top of the Blesbok, and then we go. We have a meeting in the morning, and first a church type of thing. One of the Wambus will read out of the Bible so they can understand, and then a gebed. Then we decide which way we're going to go and why. Did we get info from Zulu last night or not? Is that info worth following up, or no? That info wasn't worth following up. Then they will normally say, okay, we go this direction, and that on that day we traveled northwest, but basically almost straight north. It was early. The first kraal we got to, 2 tracks were found. Asked the bushman that was living there. We asked him, when was Swapo here? No, they didn't want to talk. Anyway, I won't say the best tracker in the team, because every group really will have his best tracker. But when that best tracker falls away, then another one will step into his place. There was no shortage. We found the 2 tracks, and it was only us. And we started following. At a later stage, ZULU Juliet joined with Chris Ronnie again, and Tron and Toge. And it wasn't long. Then they started anti-tracking, because they heard the cars. You can hear the cars from miles away. If it's a Wolf Casper combination, it's more confusing for the enemy, because the Casper goes it's like and then he changes to the second gear, where the Wolves is much heavier, 16 tons. They had the split gearboxes. The Wambu driver there, it's gears changing all the time. Anyway, that day it was only it was 2 Casper teams, Juliet and 1 Juliet. And 2 choppers joined us because we knew we were very close to them. I was with my trackers, I was on the ground. And when they said it's Paife, it means quick. I ran back to the car, and they were very close. I grabbed my 9mm and I put it in the back, so at least I have something. I couldn't carry the radio and a rifle, but at least I had my 9mm now with me. And it was a few minutes, then it was really, there was a running spoor now. And as I jumped out of the vehicle to join them again, there was a tree that must have been knocked over by a Casper before. It was a dry tree. The tracker on the right-hand side stepped on the bomb Z wire, and they were 11 down. If I didn't jump over that tree, maybe I wouldn't have been sitting here today, because it caught me more in the bottom part of my life, of my body. My right leg, the tibia was separated. One through the hand bled a lot, and a lot inside, of which I didn't know. So that's the first time I smell something stink. You know, because if you're 7 days in the bush and you don't smell yourself anymore, you know you're dirty. You're very dirty. But anyway, I heard screaming, shouting. It was some of the trackers. You know, one was passed away a year later. They said that the Sector 10, the medics, they said, yeah, I died because of cancer. Now, that was because of what happened that day. They didn't pay proper attention, and that irritates the piss out of you, to call it, put it in a nice way. We eventually fixed up the leg in some or the other way, and cleaned the hand and stuff. I said, we spoke Afrikaans. I said, Patron, die fucking been is af. Hy said, no, man, it's your hand, kyk hoe your hand, but it's only a piece of shrapnel. The bone in the hand also broken. The hand bleeds a lot. I don't know why. I'm not a medical man. And he fixed the other. The choppers took us, first me, and then the others bit by bit down to Inanna. And there we were all put in the back of a deck, flipping hot in there. And eventually everybody was in there, and we were flown down to Ondangwa. And the teams carried on with the tracking, but they couldn't get those two. They were experts. I believe one was caught a year later, and he joined 1 Juliet. But anyway, I don't have no proof of that. Because I was stabilized, and there were ones that was shot more, hurt more, bad wounds than myself, sitting in a room, tent room there, and then I suddenly felt I couldn't breathe. I had a pain inside my stomach, and they sent a medic to me, and then I can't remember, they took X-rays or stuff. I don't know whether they had those facilities up there, but there were doctors or specialists from South Africa up there. They had to pick up experience to deal with the riots and the stuff when the policemen get shot here or hurt down here in South Africa. And the one came to me with a smile. And after I went in for a little, let's call it operation, they put, I think they call it a Hoffman or something. We jokingly call it TV antennas. No, the leg wasn't put in plaster of Paris or anything. Those things, it looks like antennas. It was drilled, 6 of them, through the bone at the bottom and the top part, to keep it a little. It just must not touch properly, otherwise the one leg will be shorter eventually to you. And there was a lot of behind the knee on the right hand side, a lot went through there, a lot of blood and stuff. Anyway, then he said to me, oh, good news for you regarding your stomach. I sorted your leg, but the good news is you will never have a beer belly again, because I shortened the colon here and there. But okay, well, you're a doctor, I don't know. And then eventually we were taken to 1 Mil, and there for 5 weeks I didn't eat. I couldn't eat that food. I had I didn't feel like eating. Every night sort of, when the nurses come around and do their last check, I would eventually fall asleep, but after a couple of minutes, I wake up and I'm almost wet as can be, sweating, it's fever. My ex-father-in-law was working in the Air Force down at Eysterplaat. He had some, although being a warrant officer, summer year, he had the contacts to arrange a flossie in a flight. Uli Smith was one of the doctors. He was still happy at the time, who came to check the leg and this and that, and they had the medical. They talk medical. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. But anyway, I asked him to. There was also one of the guys, one of my guys, the trackers, who was inside one mill. The nurses complained. They said, but he swears a lot. I said, well, that's what they learned from us, from the policemen. If the spanner didn't work or the car was broken, it was fucked up. So now he's talking about his leg, and his leg is fucked up. And they thought that he was swearing at them, but that wasn't the case. There was a guy who was working with, he was hurt in an army guy lying next to me, not next to me, but in the bed next to me. I heard him when his family came. He was with the Bushman battalion. I don't know which battalion that was. He was talking how heavy they track, but I know the Bushmen, when it's close, they're back in the vehicles, or they disappear. The Bamboos and the Himbas and the Portuguese, that we were never. They were the heart and the soul of the team. So what does he do? He doesn't have anybody. He can't talk to the nurse because the nurse is not happy because he's swearing at her. So he's in his wheelchair and, hello, Sante, and he's next to me back, and we start chatting and talking. And but anyway, I tried to explain that to them, and I explained to the doctors as well. I'm a policeman. I can go to a private doctor. You're not healing me here. Every night it's this fever thing, and I can't eat this food. And the food was really bad. It's not because I didn't like it. The food was bad. Then my ex-father-in-law organized me a route, they called it a route form document. And the doctors came to me that night. They said, that evening, they said, if you get the fever tonight, okay. The only thing they gave me for pain, they gave me 12 tablets a day. I don't know why. I don't know what it was. But for the pain at night, when I wake up and I sweat, they brought me, they call it a Codus cocktail. Something, most probably a Codus tablet that's messed up and put in some green medication. I don't know what it was. That helped for a while, but it didn't stop the fever and stuff. And then they came that last night. And they said to me, well, if you have a fever tonight again, you're not going down to Cape Town tomorrow. And I again said to them, I'm a policeman. I have the right to go to a private doctor. The police and my medical aid and stuff will pay for that. Then I'm a human. I'm not a human here where I'm lying now. Then the next morning, early, let's call it the carriers, I don't know who they were, maybe medics, army medics. They came and they loaded me on this leather type of stretcher that was like lying on a plank or piece of wood. But they took me to the flossie, and I thought, bye, Pretoria, you won't see me easily again. And when the thing landed in Cape Town, we used to it flying up and down on flossies. I liked it when we flew up there and the thing went down and people started screaming because they thought maybe it's shot down. I mean that was just to not get shot by the RPG-7. People were there to come collect me. They said I looked like a skeleton. I said, well, what do you expect? I didn't eat. And then I went to 3 different specialists. The one who worked on the stomach was Shuttleworth. His son is the one who's involved in this airspace thing. I don't know. I had pipes going into my stomach, thin like almost like a drip type of thing. They took X-rays there. It went in and it's like a little, like I say, not like a little ball at the bottom. 2 of them. Those things I had to close first before they could remove the pipe. And he said, okay, that's that. And use molten and stuff like that to at least 3-4 times a day. You have to use a needle, not the needle itself, but the back part, and then put it through there so it can clean out and stay clean. And I said to him, but what about the other tablets? They gave me 12 a day. He said, no. If you have a pain, if you have pain, take a Panado. And that I learned the other day as well when I had a shoulder operation, shoulder reversal thing. I never knew that a Panado was that a good thing. The doctors working on the leg was one like a normal one who worked on a broken bone or fractured bone. And the other one was Ken Pretorius. He wore those, you remember the people who wore those square type of glasses, and then they put it down like that if they want to talk to you. He said to me that he used the language that I understand. He said, we're going to move a nerve out of your left leg and put it in behind your right leg behind the knee, but at the back. Then that thing will grow, and eventually you will get, because I had a drop foot. There was no, the nerve was damaged complete, so there was no feeling on the right hand side of the leg, lower leg, and the foot as well. I couldn't lift my foot. Anyway, he came in after the operation. They normally lean on that table where they put your food and stuff at the bottom of the bed. He said, I've got good news for you. I didn't have to remove something from the left leg to put it in like a piece of spaghetti into the right leg behind it. There was a piece of shrapnel in that nerve. I removed it. So the feeling will eventually come back. It won't be like normal, but it will come back. So I said, normally if you have a broken bone, arm, leg, whatever the case, it takes 6 weeks for that fracture to grow and mend, and then you can use the arm or leg or whatever. I said to him, oh, okay, doctor. So in other words, what you're telling me now is you're giving me good news. In about six weeks from now, I can go back to work. And then Herman almost stopped that thing at the bottom. He said to me, I can fix your leg, I can fix your hand, but I can't fix your fucking brains. And he ran out of the. And anyway, that's that. I couldn't. That's what the general said. Always when he saw my ex-wife, she was working in the offices there. Hoe gaan dit met ou Claassie se beentjie? He always the same. Even when I went back there, hoe gaan dit met die ou beentjie? He looked after. If he does see me 2-3 times a day, I get the same question. And it's actually, it doesn't feel well. I wore I don't know what you call it, a red leather thing. It's like a jockey or a horse jockey, and then like tires, like the Emos soles. They made their shoes with vehicle tires at the bottom. I wore that thing and you call the sticks that you wear. Yeah, you stabilize you. That for quite a long time, and eventually that was removed. And when we had to, after Betoger and Porky was killed in an ambush 10 kilometers northeast of Inanna. That's another story. I wasn't there with him. I was down at Nieuwsloop, and where the new guys were coming. They were there for training. So the general spoke to them. Their hair was all cut with a sheep scalpel. When you cut the sheep's wool off, they use something like that to cut their hair. So, anyway, that morning, early, normally if a contact does happen or take place everywhere in operational area, and the person leading the groups will shout contact and the team's name, and then no talking takes place, especially only between the groups there with the Foxy mics, those radios, line of sight type of thing. Everybody was wherever they were working, or there we were down there where the guys were training. We kept quiet. And shortly after they drove into that ambush, Porky was shot. I shouted on the radio that he shot. His mom with him said, the Shirumbu is bezig om dood te gaan. You must get somebody to help. But it was too late. Then Betoger was shot through his upper leg, but right through the window. I don't know how it missed the passenger, and his leg was shot off. Thrown again from the bit was the medic. Before he came to Koevoet, he was an army medic, and then he joined the Swapo police to become a proper Koevoet member. He worked on Betoger. He said, we spoke about it many times. He said to me, Betoger refused to die. And then to hear on the radio, it's quiet, and then to hear the sound, Betoger is the next one, he's gone, he's no more, he's not with us. We didn't talk a word from there. We drove straight back to Oshikati. We didn't talk a word, nothing was said, everybody was as silent as can be. So that's why I'm not a hero, but I'll make a plan out of it. Every year, if I go up, I'll go visit the graves. We buried both of them. We buried Porky at Otjiwarongo and Betoger at Aranos. The second time I went there, I tried to get his grave, but I couldn't find it. We went on a tour up, a couple of friends on a tour up to Namibia, Kodam. And then when we drove past there, I said, well, I want to go to Betoger's grave. No, it's a brother in arms. I couldn't find it. And this thing was, it wasn't a haunting thing, but I thought, we buried them. Why can't I find this grave? And a friend of mine owns a farm there in Namibia. We drove down from there, about 300 kilometers dirt road, with his cruiser, I was on, because we had to split somewhere after the Aranos thing. And the first day, we bought ourselves, late afternoon, this party, we bought ourselves whatever we needed, and we booked into this, let's call it the guest house. And we asked the lady, where's it? This is maybe 1970, or 87. 1987 was many years ago. 14th of February. It'll like Tom also said before he passed away, we will never celebrate Valentine's Day. It's nothing about it. Just another day. We'd rather celebrate those guys. And anyway, so the two of us, we went up there in his vehicle, and we looked. And also, Betoger's sister works in Windhoek, and her son works for a company there, and he explained to us where to go, how to find it, once we're inside. And here we found this place. As we, like I said, it's 300 kilometers trip down from Otjiwarongo on the dirt road to Aranos. You can't drive fast. We travel 80, 90, whatever kilometers per hour. Just before we got to the tar road, at least from Marienthal to Aranos, there we had to turn left. There was a land crew, and I don't believe in bygeloofies and stuff like that. There was a cruiser in front of me, about a kilometer, 2 kilometers, a bucket cruiser, if you can call it that, with a canopy on, and the back part, the window, blinded me. The slower I get, it still kept on blinding me. I didn't talk to Terry, the person who was with me at the time. He was behind me in his bucket. He said, anyway, we booked in there and we went up. Eventually, we dropped our stuff and went up to the place, and I took a few photos there. And there are other police also buried there, but I don't know whether it's father, mother, maybe it's not related. A lot of people with the same names, surnames. And that room was, the place where we booked in was fancy, TV, aircon, you name it. And it was hell of hot. Jeez, it was hell of hot. It was like it's almost 40 degrees per day. Terry and myself, we discussed a lot of things. Eventually, he went to bed, and the next morning, that place closes with a remote, and the gate closes in the remote. As we drove out there, it was cloudy and hot, early hot. And I looked in my rearview mirror and on my side mirror, and I saw this blind thing coming out of the dune, and it went back. Or the clouds closed it again. When we got to Mariental, we filled up again. Terry had to meet some business to do there. We filled up again, and I said to Terry, did you see that? Did you see that yesterday? Did you see that this morning? He said, yes, it was Batuha saying hi to us, and Batuha saying thank you. And then from very on, obviously I drove south back to the Western Cape. So now I've reached whatever I wanted to do. Found a Tron's funeral. There wasn't really a funeral, it was just a farewell type of thing, and in the church. And then afterwards, people mingled and had a few beers or whatever the case might be. His brother takes people up to Angola, especially before COVID, but now he's still doing it, to a place called the Namib. It's southwest of Angola, special place. And he said to me, Claassie, you can, the next one I'm going up, you can go with me. You don't have to pay anything. You only have to bring your own booze and food and stuff like that. So we worked it around the other way. My friend Ian Dillon and myself, we flew up to Walvis because France stays there. He's got 2 cruises, and he brought the other one. I had to drive the other one, and Alan at certain times. And Terry was also there, the one who was with me now to the graves. We then went to Angola, and this certain place, it's like years ago there was a movie, The Blue Lagoon or something, and they had the beautiful sea. It looks like that, and the water's the same. We went out on a boat, and the ashes were put into the sea. And that was the end of that one. Came back also, if you can give anybody tips about crossing the border on a tour to Angola, don't overplay your hand. Do it the right way. Don't be nasty. Even if you go over the border, I go to Namibia every year. I've been there. I know. I don't know what's going to happen in South Africa in May this year, but at least I've been there. I can always go later again, but I've been there now before Namibia, and obviously the wall on the 6th of April. There are many more things, but I think this is enough. This is enough for now. Unless you want to know something more.
Yeah, Claassie, I'm sure we're going to have more questions, but I want to limit this now. I just want to ask your opinion here. You know, since the war ended, a lot of books came out about Koevoet, written by members. I'm not disputing that. But would you say that Jim Hooper's book is still the best, the one called Koevoet?
Jim Hooper wrote with the people. That's my answer. He never wrote one false piece. Some people try to break him down or do this and that. We scalped a lot until 2 months ago when he passed away. His ashes will be, half of his ashes will be in America, and the others will be at the wall. That's a fact. Peter Stiff wrote his book, COVID War or 9 Days, I think COVID War, was also, when he was still alive, I always made contact with him after the 9 days. I phoned him on the 1st of April and said, hi, how are you doing, old man? And then we chat a little bit. And then the first year, I didn't phone him. He phoned me. He said, why don't you phone me? You phone me every year on the 1st of April. I said, I just tested you. But his book, the British Army, according to him, asked him if they can use his book in training in Afghanistan. And what I've heard, the rank of the people that was trained in that book was major and up. So I'm not saying it's true. I don't see any reason why he would lie to me. It's difficult to write 9 Days War, COVID War, if there are so many teams. I must lie to you if I tell you how many teams were in Wambuland and Oshikati at that time, during the 9 days, especially the couple of years that led to the 9 days or to the end of the war. And Ukuva had a few teams. Kavango had a few teams. The Kavango, those guys were really hungry uh, if especially if a Koevoet team, if they were following, they had to work in the east because it took them almost a day, the Kavango, the Hindu teams, to get to the operational area. Now they pick up spoor and they follow, and they give it through on the radio. And a Koevoet team from Zulu would just slip by up ahead. They know it's going north. It's normally going north. Slip up and steal their tracks. But they were good people in the Kavango, really good people. The same as the mechanics in Oshakati, you know. People never write anything good about them, but you know, to go out there in the bush and ask actually to be there in the bush, it's not everyone wants to do that. So, but the books, to me, others might differ. Hooper, and then Peter Stuff had to put out, you know, had to write a history of how many this now. And he could have made a mistake here and there with the team. He interviewed people, but Hooper rode with him, and he got shot twice, and he was there when I think it's Italy or Anguena, when the Swapo left on Anguena. I still have that pot here. I had a small size 1 black pot, but I wasn't there. But the pot was part of the Kostromo that the people used, the car commanders. He was there as well. I spoke to him many times after that. He said to me, I couldn't find a place or a person who I could lie underneath to stay away from those mortars. Some of or at least one fell inside the base. The Koevoet guys normally slept outside under the cars or close to cars. With one car, I think it's on one of the covers as well, where the car was alight inside the base. But by the next morning, the medics, front part of his head he was still alive, but the front part of his head, skull was shot away. That part had a piece gone at the top, but I still use it. I can still use it, just move the lid around a bit. They had shrapnel in his back. Some of the black guys was really bad. I think one died there, and Hooper was standing there. He told me about it. He was standing there when this person was dying in front of him. But it was blood all over the show. It was a bad day. The darkest days in my life is when my father passed away. I became an atheist, but changed later after my mind got sorted again. And the day, the 14th of April, it was Batuga was a close man. Porky was also close. In town, they had many pubs. Close to the police station, there was the Swapo pub, and that was the local police, their pub. And there was a gym behind it. My house was on that road. And I saw Batuga walking. He lived in the barracks behind the offices in the stores. He was walking. If you talk rugby, I'm a Western Province, a Stormer supporter. Batuga was walking past my house in a Western Province shirt, not a proper rugby shirt, but the blue and white stripes. He was on his way to that pub. Anyway, he had a couple of shots there. I don't know how many. And then afterwards, he went to the gym because he didn't want to walk home back to the barracks again. He was lying in the gym, and then some of the other guys who normally go to the gym, when they saw Batuga was lying, when Batuga woke up, he was lying with the weights on top of him. He just started pushing those things like he just rested a little bit. But there are many things. That's why, on Sundays I used to phone Tom, and Tom phoned me after the war. I phoned the general, and he always said, "Oh, we gaan met die ou beentjie, Claas." Yeah, I'm fine. Dit gaan goed. That's why I just had this thing in me. Something driving me. I had to get to Batuga's grave. I had to get there and stand there and see what's going through your mind and your brains. Anything more you want to know?
Well, I want to ask you 2 questions. The first one is, whenever I speak to the army at Legacy, and I speak a lot to the army, they have mixed feelings about Koevoet. But one of their major complaints is that Koevoet will steal their spoor. And then they say they walk themselves to death, and the next moment you just hear these Caspers coming past. Then you hear a short gunfight, and then the Caspers come past again. It's
I'll
it
answer
was
you.
so bad.
I'll give
Is
you. I'll
that
give you
true?
on. I'll give you an honest answer on that one. Some will try and bite my head off again. The 101s were following, I think, 30 or 40 tracks somewhere in between Oshikango and Inanna. For 2 days, they couldn't shoot them. Then the army, I don't know what his name was, called the general on the landline, and he said, can't you send people up there to go sort them out? And I remember, I wasn't with Zulu November time. Bushman was the one who started Zulu November. Uh, uh, Zulu November, Zulu Bravo, the two teams normally work together, and Sierra, Papa and Sierra, Zulu Papa, Zulu Sierra. They took over the tracks. I don't know how long from when the order was issued. I think it took them 2 to 3 hours, all done. They had 2 cataracts on their side, but the war was that fight was over. 35, they got 35 copper there. Then at one stage we had to go to Ondangwa to have some sort of a meeting. I still don't understand why, because the army had a different way of thinking. The gunships, yes, they knew what was happening. If they see a white force up there, they knew. But I mean, how in the hell do you find your without a compass, without a GPS? How do you find your direction? Perfect, so the gunships can fly to you if they see the. But anyway, so we went to this, let's call it meeting, get together, have a few drinks. I don't know whether we drive, and then I don't know whether it's army commander or the gunships asked Bushman to explain to them on the blackboard, by chalk and blackboard, how did you, what happened there on that day? And he said, no, the teams were, the Caspers were all in line. We were going north, draw the picture, the lines up north, and when they were close, they sent out spoor snake cars, just to confirm. I don't know if that really actually happened, because they didn't have to get out of the vehicles. Anyway, and then we used the Afrikaans words. Hy sê ons het gemale, geskiet. En ons het allemaal klaar geskiet. Ons het 2 uitkerswerks gehad. Wim was in een muur of wewer of iets geskiet, maar niks ernstig nie. En een van die spoorsnijers was ook geskiet. They were flabbergasted. They didn't believe, they thought he lied. They thought they had to move in a certain way or whatever to get in to become the victors. But that is what happened that day. So maybe other spots, there wasn't time. If any Koevoet team leader would pick up spoor, he would call the team that he normally worked with closer and tell them, if they turn left or west or east, then you're there. And once we start with the thing, when you're very close, then you join us, and we send out the first night cars. But the trackers always had to be between the cars. You can never leave the trackers alone, so they get shot and you sit in your vehicle. I don't see any reason. So get the job done. Do the follow-up as quick as possible, and do your job, and keep your people alive if possible. That's the way I see it.
Okay, then the last question here before we go is, what was the role of the Police Special Task Force during the 9 days of war?
There was a colonel that came up, Foster. I think he started Zulu Juliet years ago, 82, 83, I don't know, I wasn't there, so I can't speak of that. But the general, and then he brought up with him a few Takis, also South African, and he made use of the Wambus at Zulu 8, that's a training base. Those Wambus don't really know anything about tracking as far as I'm concerned. They know how to train the others, recruits and stuff, but tracking, no. And the general said, when this thing started, he said, if anybody else pick up spoor, a Koevoet team must take over. Now, that was late afternoon. We wanted to actually stay at Inanna that evening, fill up and do all. We had the Bundubash all the way around in the but some of the, the Bundubash, anybody's been up there, especially the east, the cars get damaged, the vehicles. And now, even if you have a success on the other side, you still have to go, those vehicles have to go back, and it's got to be so, unless you can sort it out there in the bush. When we eventually reached them, it was close, the sun was almost down. Ati Hatang, rest in peace. He's Aviva, his top tracker leader, spoke to the bunch from Zulu 8, and they explained to him what it was. And then when Aviva told Ati what has happened there and what they were chasing, he almost exploded. They were chasing PKs, locals. Those people were chasing the cattle down to get to I don't know, like we have farm things here where the people take the cattle or the sheep, and they advertise it there and they sell it there. So we wouldn't do best for nothing. And he told Fossey what he thought about this, and then the next morning we left there. I think we went back to Inanna to have the vehicle sorted. But that's I will never talk down a Taki, because I have friends there as well. Some of them do bodyguarding, stuff like that today. I've never been there. And even in Koevoet, there were quite a few ex-Takis. So how can I break them down? But that day was a bad day. We wasted time.
Yeah, no, they were excellent at what they were doing. I mean, we had a few of them on here, and we have high respect for the Special Task Force. But we've come now to the end of this episode anyway. I want to thank you for your time and talking to us, telling us what happened. Really, really grateful to you. And I want to invite everybody, I want to invite the Koevoet members also. Guys, please come and talk to us. You're getting older. And unless you talk to us, these liberal lies about the unit will still exist. I also know that the Koevoet Bond is doing quite a lot to help the members who are in trouble. I know that the unit was abandoned as much as 3-2 Battalion was abandoned and 3-1 and all of it, but it's the forgotten part of the history almost, because it was a police unit and not an army unit. So I want to say again to you people, if you want to get involved with the Koevoet Bond to assist these people, then please do so. I will leave the links here. Get hold of them or get hold of me. I will put you in touch with people. Now, whatever you can help with, guys, please help. And here at the end, as we say at Legacy always, until we meet again, God bless.
Thank you, Koos. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications.